Alright guys, so today we're playing Titanfall 2 in 2025. It has been 9 years since the game's release back in 2016, and we all know the story of this game. It's a very interesting one, a very unique story for an online multiplayer game, where it launched to pretty much no fanfare. No one really was talking about this game at its release, like during the actual time that this game came out. It wasn't until a few years later that people actually started to finally appreciate this game, and you actually had people playing it online. Because the thing is, Titanfall 2 was released in between the new Battlefield and Call of Duty, and it didn't really stand a chance to compete in that market, because you had one Titanfall game before, it was Titanfall 1, but it was only on Xbox and PC, so the largest player base on any platform at the time was PlayStation 4. There wasn't a PS4 version of Titanfall 1, so you didn't have a pre-existing fan base for the Titanfall series on the largest platform that you had at the time. So, even though Titanfall 2 eventually came to PS4, well, it launched at PS4, but I'm saying the series eventually came to PS4, no one really cared, at least at first, especially compared to Battlefield and COD. But after a certain amount of time passed, people were like, a game that no one really played and it deserved more of a chance than it got, Titanfall 2. And then suddenly, over the years, slowly but surely, the game actually got really popular and got a lot of people playing online and actually ended up becoming way more successful years after release, years after they even last updated the game, way past the game's prime and its actual support of development. So I find that fascinating. And obviously, they never really capitalized off of that. They released Apex Legends in 2019, which is in the same universe as the Titanfall series, but it's obviously a completely different game and not even close to being the same gameplay-wise and just in general. So it's frustrating because it's been almost a decade and there's no indication that we're anywhere close to Titanfall 3. But as far as 2025 is concerned with Titanfall 2, aside from, maybe just being tired of playing the same game for almost 10 years, it is still worth playing in 2025 as far as the player count's concerned. Still pretty strong that you get a couple thousand players on Steam, and you get even more people because there are people like me that never bought the Steam version but always had it on PC on Origin, or now it's just the EA app on PC. So I don't even count towards the Steam player charts. And there's a lot of people that are still playing on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, which, of course, if you have a PS5 or Series X, Series S, you can play through backwards compatibility. I'm playing the PC version in this video, and I apologize for the gameplay being kind of shitty. I leveled up quite a bit on the PC version over the years, and it's been a long time since I actually played Titanfall on keyboard and mouse. I usually play Titanfall 1 on my Xbox, so it was kind of, took a little bit of getting used to. Plus, I was never honestly that great at Titanfall to begin with, so you guys can roast me as much as you want in the comment section. That is totally fine. But yeah, I mean, unlike Titanfall 1, which the PC version is completely unplayable to the point where they actually delisted the game, which is kind of bullshit, because Titanfall 1, the Xbox version, works perfectly fine, never had any cheaters or any issues like that. They delisted the Xbox version too, which sucks ass. So, yeah, Titanfall 2, even though I prefer Titanfall 1, for a new player, someone who's never played the series before, Titanfall 2 is probably objectively the better game to play in 2025. In terms of accessibility, because it's not delisted, you can download it off of EA Play, Game Pass Ultimate, or just the fact that it has an actual single-player campaign, which Titanfall 1 does not have. So if you're just like an offline gamer that doesn't really care for PvP and that kind of stuff, you actually have a really good, underrated single-player campaign for you to play and experience. So all in all, I would recommend Titanfall 2 over Titanfall 1, despite my own preferences towards the first game. I just like the vibes and atmosphere of TF1 better. But a lot of people love Titanfall 2 a lot better than Titanfall 1, so it really just comes down to personal preference. I would say, though, if you've never played it before, this is easy for me to recommend. If you have played it before, kind of like been there, done that, I understand that, so there's not really much value in it anymore, especially if you put like an ungodly amount of time in the game over the years. I remember playing the beta on PS4 when that came out, and it was like the open beta. And I'm like, okay, this game is alright. I never really, like, I didn't find anything wrong with it. I thought it was actually a pretty good game, and the graphics were good, the gameplay was tight and innovative and a lot of fun. But I'm just like, for me, and I think for a lot of other people, it just kind of got lost in the shuffle. And I'm glad that it was able to get some newfound appreciation, but unfortunately, it was probably too little too late, because if it actually was very successful, instead of it just being kind of like a cult classic, which it is, I mean, it has like a few thousand players is nothing to snuff at for an old-ass game like Titanfall 2 is, but I think if this game was truly successful and was like a money-making machine, we would have had Titanfall 3 like at least 5 years ago. Never mind now at this point. But that being said, Star Wars Battlefront 2, the EA version, was like objectively very successful, and we still it's been almost a decade since that game's come out, and we haven't gotten Battlefront 3. So that's another one where it's kind of like, EA just does weird things sometimes, I'll just say that. Like, some of their business decisions make no logical sense whatsoever. But all in all, Titanfall 2 is an excellent game that still holds up very well. It hasn't shown its age one bit, because it was ahead of its time back then, so it kind of feels like it belongs in 2025. Feels like a modern experience between the movement, the gunplay, the Titan controls, everything. Like, it's all a unique, fun, innovative experience that you can never really get anywhere else. It's never been truly replicated since, and hasn't been done before. And it's easy to recommend in 2025 because that you still have a strong player base that you can find games pretty easily, regardless of when you're playing, what time of day, what day of the week. Region, maybe some variance there. Like, if you're outside of North America or Europe, you'll definitely have a much harder time actually connecting and finding a match. But there's no cheaters, no hackers. I've never experienced any of that on the PC version. Unlike Titanfall 1, this game is pretty good. Like, there were a lot of cheaters that were in the game and infecting it a while ago, but that's since been resolved. I haven't had any problems. So, it's, yeah, all in all, pretty solid in 2025.